Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, obviously, and it was the drama involved, the theater involved, because of the circumstances surrounding it. You know, that could have been Cole Hamels' final start in a Phillies uniform. You know, he had pitched terribly in his previous two starts. All the trade speculation, drama, and then to do that against the Cubs at Wrigley Field, an historic place to watch a game. It was an electric moment, and it was definitely one of the highlights of my Phillies beat writing career.
Wow, and you know, a lot of people talked about, you know, Jason Stark was on the show Friday, and he talked about how people thought how much pressure was on him to perform in that particular game. I don't know that it was that. You know, people knew that Cole Hamels is still pretty good, but to put that icing on the cake, and it puts in the back of people's minds at least that, hey, he can spin a gem or be an ace on any given day. Did that to you cement that he will be dealt, or does that just, hey, Cole Hamels just had a great day and it didn't really matter?
Well, I don't know if I could say it'll cement him getting traded, but I think, you know, if I had to put money on it, yes or no, does he get traded? I would say yes, he does get traded. I think the momentum had already started to build before Saturday's start, but then these teams that are scouting him, you know, the Dodgers, the Rangers, Yankees, Cubs, Giants, those teams watch that performance and they start dreaming a little bit. They go, wow, Hamels, Kershaw, Greinke in the rotation. The Rangers are sitting there going, oh man, Darvish and Hamels next season. What could that be like? And I think that kind of influences their decision-making process. You know, if he had gone out there and gotten rocked again, it would have been next to impossible, in my opinion, despite Hamels' awesome track record, to have the Phillies call up Andrew Friedman at the Dodgers and say, hey, Cole, we know Cole's been absolutely horrific these last three starts, but can you send us two or three of your top prospects for him? It would just be hard for a team to do that after seeing him pitch three straight poor performances. But that no-hitter turns everything around, and everybody's going, wow, okay, he's definitely not hurt. He's definitely still got it. Oh, boy, you know, it makes it a little bit easier to stomach giving up those prospects for him.
Todd Zolecki, MLB.com. He covers the Phillies. Cole Hamels throws that no-hitter. After the game, did you get a different Cole Hamels, or is he just always very laid back and pretty cool? Or did you get a sense that, yeah, maybe he felt this was his last start for the Phillies?
I think he's done a very, very good job since spring training of kind of deflecting any trade talks or any, you know, his innermost thoughts on possibly being traded. He definitely seemed to have kind of a calmness about him, you know, just a peace about him in the clubhouse, just kind of watching him move around the clubhouse there. So I think he kind of has a sense that, wow, if this is the end, this is a heck of a way to go out. You know, this is a heck of a way to finish my Phillies career.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, let me ask you, Todd, is there any benefits in your mind to keeping him? Now, he's got the contract through 2018 with that option for 19. You know, the Phillies said they might be good or better 17 or 18. He'll only be 33 or 34. Is there any benefits in your mind to keeping him around?
Well, I guess there are some benefits, but I think it's risk. It's very risky, and you know, it's risky to trade him though for prospects. You know, so there's risk on both sides. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, this team hopes to be good in 2018. You know, 2019. You're going to have to hope that Cole Hamels stays productive and healthy. I mean, we've just seen what happens when a team holds on to a starting pitcher, and I'm referring to Cliff Lee. The Phillies had offers for Cliff Lee in 2012. They had offers for Cliff Lee in 2013, and they said no. And Cliff was pitching great. He had never had an injury history or anything like that. And now, boy, they would kill to be able to go back in time and trade Cliff Lee for some prospects. So I think you've got to take that chance, trade him for some prospects, and hope that at least one or two of those guys develops into something productive to help you down the road. Because I think the chances of Hamels being great and the Phillies being great at the same time as 3 or 4 years is not the greatest of odds.
Yeah, and obviously you're right. Holding on, there's risk on both sides, but right now all these other teams have risk too. They're giving up prospects. but that doesn't seem to work out a lot. When they traded Lee, it didn't work out. When they traded for Lee, that didn't really work out until almost recently with Carrasco. When they got Halladay, there hasn't been much in that deal that has worked out. So, I guess both sides, but do you think it's a better spot if you're the Phillies right now, or you're one of these other teams trying to get Hamels?
I think it's a better spot for the Phillies right now because they really have, like I said, they're not going to be good for another 2 or 3 years at least. So, it just makes so much sense for them to trade him. But I mean, but then let me go back now. Like you just said, look at all the trades for big time pitchers of the past several seasons, and not very often do teams get burned at trading these guys. So if you're the Dodgers or the Rangers, prospects are still prospects. I mean, let's not forget what Dominic Brown was once ranked. He was once considered the number 1 prospect in baseball. So I'm kind of going back and forth here because there are risks on both sides. Nothing is guaranteed. You could trade Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels could pitch for another 10 years and make the Hall of Fame. That's certainly possible. They could trade Cole Hamels and get literally nothing back, or they could trade Cole Hamels and get 3 studs, and it could be one of the greatest trades in franchise history. Nobody really knows, but when you put all the pieces together, it just makes sense to move him now while his value is high, rather than hold on to him for another couple of years.
He does have somewhat, of a no-trade clause. Do you think that will be a factor, or are the teams that are interested not a problem? Well,
it's interesting. The teams that are most seriously pursuing him, there's 5 teams from what I've been told: Rangers, Dodgers, Yankees, Cubs, and Giants. The only team that Cole cannot be traded to without his approval is the Giants. So Dodgers, Rangers, the top 2 teams that are pursuing him right now, Yankees, Cubs. The Phillies can trade him to those teams, and Cole has nothing to say about it. So that's very, very important and worth noting going forward. So there aren't as many stumbling blocks as there might be with some other players. That like they on their list, they list all the teams, all the bad teams that definitely aren't going to be involved in trading for him, so they can have more veto power. Cole actually did the opposite, which is he opened up the doors to teams that he would frankly want to go to, and makes it a lot easier for the Phillies.
Todd Zolecki's with us, MLB.com. He covers the Phillies, and saw Aaron Nola now pitch twice. And obviously some people have said, look, this guy is not going to be a top-of-the-rotation guy, but he seems very poised. He seems like a very mature young man. Todd, what impresses you about watching Aaron Nola at the big league level?
Well, what you just said, poise. His poise really does impress me. That word was used several times last week in his big league debut against the Rays, and actually it kind of reminded me of Hamels' first start against the Reds in 2006. I remember being in the clubhouse after the game talking to Real Cormier, and he looked at me and said, "Wow, that guy does not look like he's however old he was at the time, maybe 21, 22 years old. He's like, that guy looked like he's been pitching the big leagues for like 10 seasons." And you heard a lot of those kind of comparisons or with Aaron Nola last week against Tampa Bay, and he looked just as calm, cool, and collected against the Cubs on Sunday. Packed house, Wrigley Field, the history, lots of reasons he could have gotten nervous and gotten unraveled, but he just painted the strike zone, and he had 74 pitches through 7 innings. I mean, that's very, very impressive.
Let's look over at Papelbon. A lot of people think the door or the window has been closed on Papelbon. He's been very vocal that he doesn't want to be here anymore. But in the end, are the Phillies going to be able to find a partner?
I think if you asked me this question last week, I would have said no. Asking me today, I say there's a better chance to that. There's 3 teams really that have been expressing the most interest in him: the Blue Jays, Cubs, and Nationals. Cubs just saw Papelbon pitch on Friday night. The Blue Jays could see him pitch Tuesday or Wednesday. These guys have been interested in him for a while, and I think the momentum is kind of building towards Papelbon being traded as well. Not to say it is going to happen, but like I said, momentum is moving more towards him being traded than not. It's not like there's no interest on Papelbon. It's just kind of dead in the water, which has been written in the last few days. There is some interest going on right now for Jonathan Papelbon.
Should fans be excited about what they can get back in return, or is this going to just be a dump just to start over?
I don't think. I think ideally, hopefully, they get one prospect with some potential to contribute at the big league level at some point. I don't think they're going to get that stud prospect or two that you're going to get for Hamels, certainly, but they should be able to get something as long as they're willing to eat some money. I think that's a big stumbling block for Papelbon, is the money that he's making this season, the money that he's going to be owed next season. The Phillies have to understand that to get the player you want for Papelbon, you're going to have to pay for the player that you want for Papelbon. And if they're willing to do that, I think they can get somebody decent.
So Cole Hamels and Papelbon, they seem like their name comes up every 5 minutes and a different team is either interested or not interested. Who's the next group of guys? Are the Phillies going to be – is it just going to be those two, or is there going to be a plethora of moves on Friday?
I think it's going to be mostly – I think if there's anybody else traded other than Hamels and Papelbon, it might be Ben Revere. Ben Revere has received some interest. He's gotten some interest for the last several weeks, actually. He, to me, would be the number 3 guy on the list. Jeff Francoeur, he probably would be a guy that might be traded in August. Chase Utley actually had gotten some interest, believe it or not, as bad as he's been this season. But he's hurt right now, and so I think if he gets some time in August. Other than that, though, I really don't think anybody is going to get moved. Not Ryan Howard, no interest there. Not Carlos Ruiz, no interest there. So it's going to be. I would try to put money on it. It would be Hamels and Papelbon before Friday's deadline. In
your opinion, Todd Zolecki is with us, MLB.com. Who pulls the trigger on a Phillies deal?
Oh, it's Pat Gillick for sure. It's Pat Gillick with some influence from Andy McPhail. And I should point that out. Just reading my Twitter feed, everybody, Ruben's not a very popular guy right now, and I understand that. But this is Pat Gillick's show. This is Pat Gillick. Ruben is basically making the calls to these teams, the Rangers, the Dodgers. He's putting together trade packages, doing the negotiations back and forth, and then he takes that information into a room with Pat Gillick, Andy McPhail, and other top guys with the Phillies, and they discuss it. But when it comes down to it, it is Pat making the yes or no, and with Andy McPhail's input. But this is not a Ruben Amaro is making these trades and he's pulling the trigger. Far from it. It is Pat Gillick pulling the trigger on these things going forward.
All right, Todd Zolecki, more at MLB.com on the Phillies as they have the night off. He was in attendance for the Cole Hamels no-hitter. Could have been the last time we ever see Cole. We will find out come Friday, 4 p.m. All right, bud. Thanks for the time as always.
Thanks. Appreciate it.